Are you wondering how to keep your bike running smooth this winter, ready to attack the trails again? Join me along in this video where I show you how. As you can maybe tell by the beautiful mud-covered bike beside me, the conditions out here in the Tweed Valley in Scotland are full winter slot mode at the moment, and as much as I'm loving the riding, the dreaded clean-up mission at the end of the ride hasn't been the most pleasant. Of course, if you get back from the ride, immediately give the bike a hose down, you can shift most of it, but cleaning products can make your life a lot easier to get rid of the real tough dirt and grime and to get your bike up and running, feeling fresh, ready for the next one again. Juice Lubes kindly sent me their pretty much full range of cleaning products to put to the test, and although this isn't sponsor content, it's safe to say that Juice Lubes have got kind of perfect base, being based in the UK, to develop and manufacture their products to tackle the winter slop. So I figured I'd use their products as a good example to show you what kind of products are on the market, how you can use them, and how to best kind of maintain your bike this winter and keep it running tip-top. Join me along for this video as I show you how to take your bike from an absolute mud-covered nightmare into something that's ready to attack the trails again and feeling fresh. First up, you're going to want to kind of shift off the bulk of the dirt and grime with a general bike cleaner. These are typically made so that you can use them on the entire bike, be it the suspension seals, the disc brakes, and you don't have to worry about contaminating anything or damaging any of the rubber on the seals. Juice Lubes makes their general bike cleaner. They make it in like a twin pack, so you get a standard 1 litre bike cleaner that's ready to go, ready to spray, foams up nicely, and then you get a concentrated version. So this, you dilute 9 parts water to 1 part of cleaner, and you make effectively 10 of these with 1 of these. This comes in a twin pack, so it's £17 for the pair of them, or $25, and you get 11 litres of the cleaning product in total, which is pretty good value. This stuff actually lasts pretty well. You don't have to use too much of it to do a kind of full coverage of the bike. And it's been fairly effective, as I'll show you in a little bit. To aid your cleaning when you're using a general bike cleaner, it's a good idea to get some kind of good multi-use brushes. They can make a world of difference just to help you aggravate that dirt and the bike cleaner and to shift it all better. You want to kind of use different brushes in different areas of the bike, and also it's really important to make sure that you don't use, say, a general bike cleaning brush that you're going to use on your brakes, on your drivetrain as well, because then you're going to end up with contaminated brakes from the grease that comes off of your drivetrain. So Juice Lubes makes like a really soft, nice, big coverage, big softy, general purpose brush. This thing's been really effective just to shift the kind of bulk of dirt off, and it doesn't, because the bristles are soft, it doesn't kind of scratch up the paintwork too much, which is nice. After that, you've got a stiffer, kind of more targeted double ender brush, which kind of lets you get into tighter places. You do need to be a little bit more careful with this because it will scuff up paintwork or potentially cause damage if you're a little bit too rough with it. But that's really handy just to get into tight spots and shift the worst of it. Then they make what they call a stiffler, which is a really stiff, kind of more precise brush that you can use to get in between kind of cassette cogs, or I like to use it on the drivetrain with a little bit of degreaser as well, just to really aggravate any of the kind of thick dirt and grime that gets into your drivetrain and kind of get that cleaned up nicely. And then finally, to kind of either dry off the bike or to buff it up if you use a bit of frame polish, nice soft kind of microfiber rag is a good idea, just to use as a general purpose sort of wiper and polisher. The 3 brushes plus the finishing cloth will set you back around about $45 or £30 if purchased individually. But in the UK, Juice Lubes sells a multi-pack with all 4 of them for $24.49, which means you can save a little bit of money and kind of get the full spectrum of brushes for your bike. Once you've got the bulk of the dirt and grime off of your bike, it's time to turn your attention to the drivetrain, arguably the most important component to keep running smoothly over the winter, because as soon as you let it get kind of rusted up or really full of grime, it'll start deteriorating really quickly, and you can really feel the kind of loss of efficiency as you're pedaling, and the noise will kind of put you off as well. So important to keep it running smooth and clean, and then re-lubed after. To clean the drivetrain, you've got a couple of different options in the Juice Lubes range. Either you can go for a Dirt Juice Boss in a can. This is basically a really strong degreaser that'll fire at your drivetrain and kind of really clean it up. And if you use that in combination with something like the Stifler brush, then you can really get the chain scrubbed up and the cassette cogs. You do have to be really careful not to let that get onto your disc brakes though, because any contaminants from the kind of drivetrain or this itself may lead to kind of contaminated brakes, which will reduce the performance, make a lot of noise, all bad things. So yeah, do be careful. Your second option is to use something along the lines of this dirty little scrubber chain cleaner with a concentrated dirt juice boss. This just takes 20 mil or 25 mil or so of fluid. In the bottom of this, you stick it onto your drivetrain, you backpedal, and then it really effectively scrubs the chain clean and gets things running quickly and smoothly, very quickly, which is awesome. Really enjoyed using this, and I'm surprised that more people aren't using them, or at least I don't see many of them being used because they're so effective for what they do, and so easy, and pretty cheap as well. Once your drivetrain is cleaned and degreased, it's worth giving it a little rinse with water just to make sure there's no contaminants left, and then a little dry, and then you're ready to add lubricant again to get it ready kind of to hit the trails. Juice Lubes makes a range of chain lubes to cover the full kind of spectrums of conditions, from their standard dry lube through a ceramic and a wax lube, but for this time of year you kind of want to focus on the wetter conditions lube, for which they make two options. You've either got the Viking Juice All Conditions lube or their wet conditions chain lube, both of which hold up pretty well in the wet weather. The wet condition lube is definitely the one you want to use for the absolute grittiest, grimiest and wettest days. The Viking Juice is more of an all-rounder that'll still hold up fairly well in the wet. In fact, I was using this on wet conditions without knowing, but yeah, certainly the wet one is the kind of ticket for the wettest and hardiest conditions. So that just about covers the kind of standard day-to-day products that you would use to clean and re-lube your mountain bike. But you can also add frame kind of polishes and detailers to bring the paintwork back up to kind of fresher looking, better looking, more luscious standard. And it also adds kind of protection, both to stop dirt from sticking quite so badly to the paint, and also to fend off scratches and general wear and tear a little bit better too. Juice Lubes makes two products, one for matte finish paintwork and one for gloss finish paintwork with their matte finish detailer. This has got a really nice kind of blueberry smell to it, which also makes it kind of viable to use to kind of clean and add protection to a matte finish helmet or other kind of matte finishes on your car or whatever. And the gloss finish is in an aerosol. Spray it onto a rag, give the frame a polish, and yeah, kind of bring it up to a nice level of sheen, and really does, both of them kind of really effectively stop the mud from sticking to the bike again, which makes your next kind of wash up all that little bit easier. And for slightly more kind of specialist jobs in the workshop, Juice Lubes makes a few different sprays. The first one being their Ultimate Workshop Degreaser. Now this is a really powerful degreaser, kind of similar to the chain cleaning one, but slightly safer for other components on the bike. And yeah, kind of jets out, really powerful aerosol spray, and really lets you kind of shift dirt and grime and kind of build up of greases or whatever around the bike. And yeah, really kind of effective and useful thing to have. Again, you do need to make sure really carefully that you don't get this on your brakes, because it'll make them squeal like nothing. And if you do, then some disc brake cleaner is a very useful product to have lying around. This doesn't typically totally decontaminate a set of brake pads, but if you do get something on your disc, it's a really good product just to help shift it and to keep your brakes running kind of nice and good and free from any problems. And then finally, if you're especially on I guess steel bikes, or just generally if you've got areas on the bike that are collecting water, or you know, around your kind of headset or suspension pivots, it's a good idea to use something along the lines of water displacer to really help keep that drive that water out of those areas and keep them running smooth. Juice Lubes makes their JL69 bike maintenance spray, which does exactly that, and can also help kind of keep mud and stuff from building up in these areas too. So definitely a handy product to have to hand. Rounding out the sort of workshop stuff is their multi-purpose grease, which kind of does what it says in the tin. Use it on screw threads, use it on kind of headset, bearing interfaces, whatever. Does a pretty nice job. It's a standard grease. Next up is their ass juice, their aluminium anti-seize kind of paste or grease. This is really good for kind of seat tubes or any metal-on-metal interfaces that you're concerned about them seizing up. This should hopefully stop that. And last but not least, tiny little tub of their carbon juice. This is really useful for using on controls that are mounted to a carbon bar or between your carbon bar and aluminium stem. It adds a little bit of friction to stop them from slipping, which means you don't have to clamp up the clamps quite as tight, so you avoid damage. And yeah, certainly something worth having if you've got some carbon components in your life. And last but not least, for the tires, you've got Juice Lubes no nonsense tire juice. This is a kind of standard sealant. It's compatible for mountain bike, road, gravel, you name it. They claim it to be pro grade, long lasting. I've not actually managed to put a huge amount of time into this stuff yet, so I'm not exactly sure how it performs. But certainly from first impressions, when I was mounting up a set of tires with it, it seems to be kind of similar consistencies to most of the sealants that are coming out on the market. And there's a load of little microparticles as well in there that should help seal kind of more medium-sized holes. And finally, to add a bit of bling to your bike, there's the Juice Lubes tubeless valves that have a kind of 3 function tool in their cap, which means you can tighten up spokes, you can undo the valve core, and yeah, certainly it's they seem like fairly high quality. They're insert compatible, they're pretty nice. So yeah, if you wanted to add a bit of bling to your bike, then the Juice Lubes tubeless valves might be for you. Well then, we've got a freshly cleaned and lubricated bike, ready to attack the trails and get muddy all over again. Hope you guys have enjoyed checking out this video and have learned something along the way. Give us a like if you have, leave us a comment, let us know what's your favorite cleaning product of choice. How do you keep your bike running smoothly? Have you got any tips and tricks for us? And subscribe to the channel to learn a little bit more about how to ride your bike, how to maintain your bike, whatever. Just more awesome content on our awesome mountain bikes. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Catch you out on the trails.